When he said this, it was like something just, I can't, it wasn't like an explosion, but something just like activated in my spirit when he said this. It was like, wow, that's true. I want you to listen to it in like one, two, now.
But we don't flee. We never fled. My great grandparents never said, America getting so bad, Jim Crow, oh my God, slavery, oh my God, we getting hung from trees. I think we should run to Africa. My great grandparents never say we're gonna stay here and fight for what's ours. We don't blame the government for everything. We know what the government do. We're gonna fight back against the government. We don't blame the leaders. We change the leaders. If the leaders ain't doing nothing, we're gonna change them again. We ain't like these people, bro. They ain't got our spirit, man. They ain't got our spirit. That's why Essence failed. That's why anything they attach themselves to fail. It goes back to movies. Movies fail. When they try to play our icons, it fails.
Did you hear what he said? He said we never fled. We never packed up whatever property, whatever we own, and ran for our lives to another country. We never did that. So when this was happening, we never ran. When this happened, we never fled. When this happened, when we build up communities with our bare hands, we never fled. When that happened, we never fled to another country. We fled for freedom, but we didn't flee to another country. When that happened, we saw our children treated like less than animals. We never fled. When we self-emancipated and was literally left for dead, we did not flee to another country. It's not even in our blood. It's not in our DNA to run like cowards, contrary to what people say about us. But how many of your ancestors fled their country and then stand up and fight and demand civil rights? I'll be back. Hey, folks. Welcome back. Those who have returned, thank you to the new subscribers. We appreciate your support. Also, I would like to remind you guys to turn on your notification bells, so you can be alerted when I upload new content. Thank you so much. Okay, today I would like to talk about some things it's been pressed on my mind lately. Past couple of weeks, I've just been thinking about the pan-African movement when it first arrived in this country. I had to look back and find out when did the pan-African movement touch soil in America, because I was wondering, before I get into that. And I also want to talk about this African Union movement. Like, what are they really doing? But before I get into the African Union and what they're doing, I want you to check out a couple of clips from Tariq Nasheed. Check it out.
Under this big generic minority banner. And we're just not doing it no more. See, that whole pan-Africanism without accountability, that was a Trojan horse. That was for resource theft. Sitting up here claiming every damn body under one banner, and they're all secretly working against our asses. The name of the game is to trick us. Behind closed doors, they always say we ain't them.
Now, be for real, be honest. Even if you can't agree with a lot of things Nasheed said, do they not say that? Do they not say, me no black, me no black? Let's continue.
And stay away from us and all that. Man, please. They know. I want y'all to understand something. We have tethers hopping in here telling us, you're African, we are this. Look, they know we're different. Because when they get behind closed doors, they make sure to remind each other that we are different from them. We are just here to be exploited. The name of the game is to con us into believing we're some kind of generic African group. So anything we get, it gets done under the banner of African. Then they can go grab and get first dibs on it. You understand? That's the only reason they like for us to claim generic African lineage. And that's what pan-Africanism is. Us allowing people to come over here and eat off of us under the banner of Africanism. We can't go to Africa unless we have a bag.
Now, what did he say that wasn't true? What did he say that we have not been saying for decades when we finally woke up and saw the truth? What did he say? I mean, these are the thoughts that I have been having for the past few weeks about the Pan-African movement. It was like I was talking to some loved ones about it, and I was like, where were they? If they came here to start an organization to supposedly help, they started the organization here in this country to help those called Black Americans. Where did they help? Why did it seem like it got worse? Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after I talk about the African Union. I don't know how many people are aware of it or not. It's circulating online on social media about the African Union and what they're trying to do with reparations. They're trying to get worldwide reparations for Africans and for those who are a part of the diaspora. A lot of people are, it seems suspect, and I feel that same way, because there are some people who are saying that what they're trying to do it can be like a sabotage, because the powers that be, especially in Western civilization, can be like, well, hey, y'all was a part of it too, So, okay, well, yeah, we was a part of it, but, I was discussing this last night. I said, well, if I was an African country fighting for reparations, what I would say in response to them, accusing me or saying I was a part of my country was a part of the enslavement or helping people become enslaved, I would say, okay, well, that may be true. If you have proof, because Western civilization always wants proof, right? We did not continue it on for hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? Like they did in America. Slavery literally went on for hundreds of years, where other countries, Brazil, Portuguese, even I think Europe, one of them countries, they canceled slavery, not too long after it began on their soil. America's the only country that literally kept it going for hundreds of years. So that would be my response. Like, hold up. Hundreds of years of free labor. Can your mind conceive how much money they amassed from hundreds of years of free labor? Imagine a corporation requiring their employees to work a week for free. Do you know how much money these people will make for that week and not pay some corporations have thousands of employees, tens of thousands, some have hundreds. Can you imagine how much they would save? How much money they would stack for just 1 week? So imagine how much money this country stacked for hundreds of years. Okay, this is the article I found about the African Union advocating reparations. It was on UN.org website, news.un.org. I can attach some of the links in the description. But I can tell you one thing off the bat. For me, I don't need you speaking up for me. If you spoke up for me during the decades that you have been in this country, supposedly to unite with me, I would see some significant changes. But to me, it seemed like it was all underhanded. It was never brought about. You did not want to come and unify with me sincerely. You did not want to come and unite with me sincerely. So no, I don't need you speaking for me. You don't have the authorization to speak for me. We didn't even have any kind of meeting, any kind of survey. You didn't conduct anything with us to ask us how we feel about you wanting to speak for us now. There's another interesting thing that Tariq pointed out. He said, if they advocated for reparations and got say countries decided to pay the continent of Africa all the reparations and told them to divvy it up with those who are rightly owned reparations, which would be us, the descendants of our ancestors, and not just what happened in slavery, what happened after slavery. That's what irritates me. It's like, I think some children will be more intellectually, alert when it comes to reparations. It's not just for slavery. It's for the things that occurred after slavery. And I'm so tired of saying that. You guys understand what you want to understand. And you play brain dead when you want to play brain dead. Okay. So no, don't speak for me now. I don't need you to speak for me. So here's, let me read a little bit of the article that I found. I was thinking about this too. When they first came out and started to call us African Americans, I never liked it. That happened in the 80s. I never liked it. And these people made this decision on their own. These high profile political figures, they made that decision on their own. They didn't go around this country and ask Black Americans collectively, hey, how y'all feel about being called African American? And let us vote, which they're supposed to do. Are you guys not aware that politicians are they're literally supposed to get our permission before they enact things? Some of y'all probably are not even aware of it. But what they learn to do is start having some distractions happen. And then next thing you know, you find out there's a new bill in the legislature. It's like, what? Erected 2 weeks ago, and that's when that big old distraction happened. Y'all better start paying attention. Y'all better start going and looking at your state's legislative website and see what new bills have been erected the past few months. They be slick with it, man. They do it right in your face. But like I said, I never liked being called African American. It was just something about it just didn't sit well with me. It never sat well with me. It felt like somebody calling me someone else's name. And then you keep looking at them like, didn't I tell your ass that's not my name? Why do you keep calling me that? That's how I felt. I don't like being called. I never liked being called African American. And now I see why. Now that everything is coming to the light, I understand why I never liked it. Because I'm not African American. And as I keep saying, and other content creators are saying, all of us did not come from the continent of Africa. And I wish you guys stopped saying that. It was a small percentage. And they have proof, documented proof. I got to remember what video I just saw a week ago where this man said they now have proof that not every single person that was in bondage in this country came from the continent of Africa. He said they said it was a small amount. And that's what I learned years ago. The majority of those put in bondage came from this country. That's why we say we're natives. And then I said in other videos, and I've said in comments, come on now, a group who have made a career out of falsifying our information, literally hiding our identity, made it damn hard as hell to trace our identity for some. Why would you believe them when they keep telling you where your ancestors supposedly came from? They lied about damn near everything else, but then they're going to tell you that part. Come on now. And the truth is going to come out. It's going to have to come out. Okay. The 2025 theme is for the African Union. Their theme is justice for Africans and the people of African descent through reparations. They made sure to put them first, right? They have been running through the continent of Africa, though. They have been running through. But it's like, y'all let them. Your corrupt leaders let them, and you let them do it. That's what we say about we fought and we fight. No, you're not about to do this. You said you're going to do what? That's what we do. You got all the information and solutions for us. If you don't knock it off, that's why we separating ourselves. And it's for our well-being. It's for our peace of mind. It's for us to unite. Unlike I've never seen my people and on cold as I have today. Never ever seen it. Okay, let's go on. They urge greater collaboration between governments, civil society, and regional organizations to create a system that will compensate Africa and African diaspora for the enduring legacies of colonialism, enslavement, apartheid, and genocide between 16th and 19th centuries. Africa, this is what the article is saying, that, the reason why Africa is fighting for reparations. Africa was under siege, says Hillary Brown, speaking on behalf of the Caribbean community. It's called CORICOM, about the 300 years of enslavement and exploitation on the continent. Her political, economic, and social systems thrown into chaotic instability as Europe plundered the continent for her most valuable assets, her people. With a strengthened partnership with the AU, the global reparations movement is at a defining moment and inflection point marked by a united global Africa finally coming together to speak with one voice in seeking justice for Africans and people of African descent. That's the thing. We didn't ask you to speak for us, and not all of us came from Africa. That's why we have to separate ourselves. In order to do this accurately, we have to. You can't lump us in one category, because what we went through is different than what you went through. What Caribbeans went through is different than what we went through. Shall I go on? Okay. Ms. Brown called for a clear diplomatic advocacy strategy to advance the agenda through joint action in the United Nations and Commonwealth and other intergovernmental bodies, and a high-level forum on reparatory justice. She also highlighted the need to negotiate with all the entities that benefited from African enslavement: the governments, the universities, the church, the private sector. Sound like they talking about America, right? See, so I forgot. I think I didn't finish what I was going to say. Nasheed also said that the way it seemed like they're trying to do with this African Union is they're coming out with the, standing for reparations, demanding reparations. But if a check was cut, it will be given to the continent of Africa for them to divvy it out to those who are supposed to get reparations. But he said, I guarantee you Black Americans wouldn't get anything. And I don't think we would. I don't think Black Americans would get anything. That's why we said we not asking for you to speak for us, and we're not backing you, because you've shown us that you're not rocking with us anyway. All these years we've been in this country going through this unfairness, illegal racism, and discrimination. Where was you? Every other ethnicity or race, whatever, in this country, they have a whole country that backs them. We're the only group in this country, on this earth, that has no country that backs us. So where would the guarantee be if you were to get a reparations check for all the enslavement and disenfranchisement this world has committed against those who descendants came from slavery? Where's the guarantee that you would, give us what you're supposed to give us? There's none. Why do you think we would trust you? I would trust a stranger on the street living in downtown LA alleys before I trust you. Yeah, at least It slipped out. At least I can go to downtown alley and look for them. Downtown Los Angeles, I can roll up there and look for them. But you all thousands of miles away from me. How am I gonna find you? Okay. Representing the African Union Commission on the panel, Angela, yes, I'm not going to say these names, but she has a long last name, I guess, said the 55-member AU bloc wants a collective approach towards seeking regress. How you going to seek regress for us? I'm talking about specifically those called Black Americans. How you going to seek regress for us when you don't even communicate with us? Wow. In 2025, delegates at a reparations summit in Ghana agreed to create a global reparations fund which would be based on the African content. Few other details have yet been decided. Oh my God. They basing it in Africa. So how the people around the world that reparations is supposed to be for, how they gonna get you? Like you gonna send us some free tickets and put us up in hotels and on your in your country and say, hey, we got these checks for y'all, so we gonna send for y'all and put y'all up, and we gonna call y'all when it's time for you to go pick up your check. That sounds like straight foolishness to me. They'd get that and just hold on to it. Would you reparation for who? What? Then we would have to jump through all kind of hoops to get that check, just like they do in America. It got us building panels lasting 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then when it's done, oh well, damn, it fell through the crack. I don't have control over that. Don't be upset with me. I don't have control over it. Oh really? But when it comes to these illegal immigrants and when other groups, hey, you if you won't need to take money out your bank account, it seems you would to help them. I suggest that every single Black American in your state and city send emails and letters, even do it the snail mail way. Let them see how serious you are. Send them an email or letter and demand that because the Freedom of Information Act, they're supposed to give you data and information when you request it. Send a letter or email to your representatives and ask them to send you data on how or when have they specifically gave resources and fundings or created laws just for Black Americans. Nobody else was included. You know how they did that Asian hate bill? You know how they do things for certain groups, but when we ask for it, they say, we cannot do anything just for you. What is wrong with you? Why do you think we could just do something for you, Black folks? You know how they get when it comes to us, right? So just like California's giving funding to illegal immigrants because they don't want to go to work, because they're scared of ICE and they don't want to go to work. That's what Karen Bass said. Right on camera. She didn't stutter. Because they don't want to go to work. They're afraid of ICE. They don't want to go to work. So we're going to cut them a check and help them out. But could you imagine Black folks in America, Black Americans, if you said some ish like that? They would look at you like you grew 10 heads right before their eyes and tell you, if you don't get your lazy ass up and go to work, what are you talking about? See, that's what we mean about y'all being lazy. All right then. And they're getting United Nations support. I read an article a couple of years ago. It could have been longer than a couple of years ago, where somebody, I emailed it to myself. I have to find it. Maybe when I find it, I'll do a short. But it was somebody with the United Nations that said they were talking about Black Americans getting reparations. Said that they need to get it. And they were pointing out all the reasons, not just slavery. Clowns, those who want to keep, why you need reparations and you was in slavery and it happened so long ago. Fool. Jim Crow wasn't that long ago. redlining. What happened to my folks in Northern California wasn't that long ago. Matter of fact, my grandparents were in Richmond when they left Texas, because my grandmother's from Louisiana, my grandfather from Texas. And they migrated to Richmond, California. And they left in the 50s and came to Southern California. And they were dogging a mess out of black folks in Northern California at that time. Do some research and stop being a damn parrot. I can name a lot of books that were verified as if you really wanted to know. And stop talking out of the side of your neck. All right. Oh my God. Let's get on with the United Nations support. The discussion was moderated by Permanent Forum member June Sumner. I said Sumner. Sumer, who called reparatory justice a critical and urgent global priority. With a welcome from the current chairman of the Permanent Forum, Martin Kamani, the United Nations has acknowledged that slavery and the transatlantic slave trade were crimes against humanity and has called for remedial action. Oh my God. Y'all need to tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth that the majority of those you put in slavery on American soil came from this country. That's why they don't want us to know. Beyond compensation, reparatory justice as a structural economic imperative for Africa. And they're saying the true meaning of reparations in the 21st century cannot be confined to reciting past wrongs through merely monetary terms. If reparations are framed solely as a historical debt to be paid without addressing the structural injustices that have persisted and evolved, the conversation risks becoming hollow and ineffective. But every time we brought up issues that happened after slavery, mass incarceration, was it convict leasing, just to say a couple, we were told to shut up and stop complaining. Oh, shut the F up. God, we don't want to hear you. That's how they came at us. Now everybody want to talk about it, right? The incomplete conversation, past wrongs versus present wrongs. Reparations are often discussed exclusively in terms of the past, slavery, colonial exploitation. However, this focusing solely on history without interrogating today's systemic injustices misses a vital truth. The past wrongs were not buried. They were transformed into today's economic and political systems, and that's what we said and keep saying about what happened in America. Slavery may have ended on paper, but it never ended. Okay, Africa remains trapped in a global economic system characterized by the permanent extraction of value through the so-called commodity trap. They said Ghana exported $9.58 billion in gold in 2024, yet it only retained 14% of the value due to the nature of multinational agreements. Who made these agreements? Who made these agreements? See what I'm talking about? Folks that come from the continent of Africa, you did not even make agreements, right, that benefited your continent or country, and you want to come here and tell us that somebody on a TikTok, this African dude said on a TikTok that Africans have evolved. How he said? They're the evolution of us. I said, boy, if I could find you and wake you up to reality, how the hell you gonna be the evolution of us when you don't even stand up and demand that your government do right? You supposedly live in the richest continent in the world, and yet you're the poorest. Your citizens are the poorest. Oh my God, let's go on. The DRC produces over 70% of the world's cobalt, yet only 1% is refined in the country before being exported. This is the example of evidence of the corruption of their leaders. Only they all that money they make through these agreements and deals, it goes to them. It don't go to the citizens. Zimbabwe was ranked as the third largest producer of chromium in 23, yet most was exported in raw form. Collectively, West Africa produces 70% of the world's cacao beans, but contributes less than 1% of the global chocolate market. August cocoa, what is it called? Cocoa beans. In Somalia, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing by foreign fishing fleets cost the economy $300 million a year. Yet this picture is not limited to raw commodities, but extends to financial resources as well. That's why I said, stop talking about us. Stop bringing your ass over here talking about us. Stop staying in your country talking about us. Deal with you. If you put as much energy and fixing your country as you do getting online talking about us, it could come on now. You guys can build some powerful enterprises in your land. You spend a lot of energy running your mouth. Okay, now let's talk about pan-Africanism. This has been on my mind for a couple of weeks, and usually when things are on my mind like that, especially things I don't really, talk about or think about, it's for a reason. It's for a reason. And pan-Africanism, I was never into it. I was never against it, and I was never into it. I would hear discussions about it, but it just, because like I said, since the inception of pan-Africanism on this soil, I think it was created in another country first, or brought together in another, I think the UK or Europe first, and then it came here. Some of our black leaders at the time, not political leaders, but like artists, like I think, what is his name? I can't remember his name. But some of the artists at that time, they advocated for it to come here. Or they contacted them and they advocated. It was something like that. But since it was here on the soil, I don't see where it did us any good. Like when the lynchings occurred, where were you guys? When Tulsa, Oklahoma burned down, where were you guys? When the other communities we built burned down, where were you guys? Even recent, where were you guys? A Black America, this is directly towards you. Do you now see yourselves as Jacob from the Bible? I implore you to go read it. Go read about Jacob. When he met Rachel, he wanted to marry her, but her father wanted him to work around their land for some several years before he could take Rachel as his wife. And Jacob did it. He honored the father's request, and the father noticed throughout those years that he was blessed. His land was blessed. He was just blessed, and he knew it had to do because of Jacob. So when Jacob was trying to leave after his 7 years, he paid his debt and go off with his wife Rachel. The father was like, no, hold up. God convinced him to stay a little longer. Until Jacob was like, look, I'm out. I honored what you asked me to do. And then I stayed a little longer. What do you want, man? And so he didn't want Jacob to leave because he knew he was blessed because of Jacob. And I keep saying that this country know who we are, and they know that if we left collectively, this country would crash and would never come up again. They be talking that mess. Oh, once you go back, once you fool, damn well we didn't come from no Africa. And you know that if we collectively, those called Black Americans in this country, left, you would be done. You would. The whole world know that it's it's a blessing that comes through us. Yeah, keep mocking and talking all you want to. That's why we separated. Because we wasn't supposed to be meshing with you guys anyway. That was one of the reasons why we failed. All right, let's talk about pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism basically is the movement advocating for unity and solidarity of people of African descent. Was significantly shaped by several key figures and events. Henry Silver Williams, a barrister from Trinidad, is credited with organizing the first African conference in London in 1900, which is considered a watershed moment in the movement's history. However, the ideas and ideals of Pan-Africanism have been circulating earlier with thinkers like Martin Delany and Alexander Crummell in the 19th century, contributing to its intellectual foundation. As Black Americans lived through 2 world wars in which they fought for democracy overseas only to return to domestic oppression and racial terror, war heroes scorned by those they were sent to protect, they began to envision other political formations through which to gain civil and human rights. Although the notion of connectivity throughout the Black diaspora had been ever present since the beginning of the Atlantic slave trade, political Pan-Africanism emerged in the U.S. as a concerted movement to the turn of the century. At the turn of the century. In 1900, the first Pan-African Conference assembled and the Pan-Africa Congress was established. First meeting in 1909 under the leadership of W.E.B. Du Bois, and 4 times subsequent to that, the Pan-African Congress was an alliance of Black intellectuals and activists throughout the Black diaspora. And yes, Du Bois is the person I was trying to remember. And you know what they say about Du Bois. You know what they say about a lot of so-called Black leaders at that time and present. They were boule. So now you understand why nothing was done. Why Black men and women were still getting lynched, and children included. Why our communities were ransacked. Because some racists were having temper tantrums and ran through our communities and towns and burnt them down. Now you understand why nothing changed. Unlike Garvey's Back to Africa movement, the Pan-African Congress was never interested in transplanting Black people back to an African homeland, although Du Bois and others were at various times interested in settlement schemes. Instead, the leaders of the PAC saw Pan-Africanism as a political movement where racism and economic oppression was a shared experience through which to mobilize against colonialism, imperialism, and for the rights to land and political voice. And my thing is, where were you, Pan-Africa? And then when that land was given to freed men and women and snatched back by Andrew Jackson, why didn't you guys do anything to get the land back? Why haven't you done anything today to get the land back? Black folks, you're going to have to find out what you need to do to present a case to this nation and demand that land back that was given to you, that was given to your ancestors. Could you imagine what it would be if you still had that land in your family? So we're not just demanding the land back, we're demanding everything that would have came with being landowners. So that's interest. That's hundreds of years of interest. So they might as well give you the whole state of Georgia. That's the start. Since they have the ability to pay us monetarily, demand land. This country has millions of acres of land. I'm talking about the good land too. And along with the land, the tools and equipments and seeds, and don't give us that degenerate seeds that don't grow. So the cons of Pan-Africanism that has been discussed throughout the years is they ignore the existing differences. Pan-Africanism has been criticized for potentially glossing over the diverse experiences and specific issues faced by different groups within the African diaspora, including Black Americans, in favor of the monolithic African or Black identity. Point two, irrelevance to contemporary issues. Some critics argue that Pan-Africanism can be perceived as outdated and not adequately addressing the specific challenges of post-colonial Africa or the unique experiences of Black Americans today. They don't. They don't grasp it. They don't understand it. And they really come off like they don't care. Third point, focus on a common foe. There are arguments that the movement sometimes relies on creating a sense of shared victimhood or opposition to maintain its relevance, which may not be productive for all. So, that's what needs to be respected. We all have had our own trauma on the soil that we reside in. You can't come over here and tell us to get over it, just like I can't. Let me take myself to a country in Africa, one that is warring with tribes or rebels. Let me go over there and tell y'all to get over it. Say it's subsided. It's been, calm and peaceful for 10 years. And I come over and I go over there and I'm discussing some things with you guys. And, they're still, sensitive, still trying to rebuild from the last war, within their country. And I come in and I say, hey, you know what, you guys, one way you could deal with it and possibly grow is to let it go. They would look at me and grab spears and just stab me up. What did you say? Like, you know what I'm saying? But they come over here and do that all the time for us. Even put immigrant black people in positions of leaderships, make them public figures and give them the audacity. They have the audacity to speak for us. When it comes to matters that we experienced, they did, especially if you one generation in. I don't care if your ass is 2 generations in. You still can't speak for me. Your parents and grandparents weren't here going through what me and my family did. Me and my ancestors went through. Even if my family were not did not have slavery in them, they still dealt with the repercussions that came after slavery. Jim Crow, Black Code. Need I say more? Oh my God. All right, folks, I'm about to wrap this up. Yeah, so I even subscribe to the page, the channel, not the channel, the website. African Union is AU.INT. And I subscribe to them because I want to keep an eye on this matter. Yep. I want to know what the hell what they trying to do. Black folks, keep your eyes out on it. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description. Don't let them speak for us. We've been speaking for us for centuries. Where was you? Where was any country for that matter? Now everybody want to come and say, oh, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, slavery this, slavery that. But where were you? Okay. Well, thank you, folks. Those who have checked out the entire video, thank you. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing is caring. And I'm about to be out. I will see y'all in the next video. 10-4 over and out.